God, I remember drinking that on Park
10,
Street,
1090,
Main Street.
1090. I told you I'm poor, dude. I get what I can get.
Did you get that at the local shortstop?
No, it's actually on sale for $10.99 for a 12-pack plus the $1.10 deposit for each can. So it's $2.40 deposit. It comes to $14.24.
In my mouth.
It tastes the closest thing to the Miller Lite that I can afford. All right.
Oh, Dave's going to get a Seagram's.
Bud Light Orange.
Oh, that is the Bud Light rice beer. You might as well just shit yourself to death.
No, you're drinking dirty Flint, Michigan water.
This is brewed with hops, my friend, and hops is the correct way, hops, wheat, and barley, the correct way to brew beer. Do we need to get into this discussion? Do you know
Dillon,
what you're drinking? You're drinking American sake, and it tastes like shit. If I want sake, I'll go to the local Chinese restaurant and get me some real shit that will get me drunk as hell off a quarter of a little shot. I don't need to drink some American screwed-up rice beer that's brewed crappy and makes you puke and shit your guts out the next morning. No, thank you.
It says Keystone Light. But anyways, all I'm going to say that Keystone Light is like you buy weed and you get oregano. That's what Keystone Light is.
No, it's
that's exactly what it is.
tasty.
You're drinking the oregano.
Oh, yeah, you might as well just chew on it.
I would rather drink oregano or eat oregano or smoke oregano than drink pissy shit water. And it even looks like you're drinking urine on camera with it being yellow.
Listen, no, if your urine's this color, bro, you got to get checked out. That's brown. That's like
Rabbit hole.
You're standing there, heat stroke.
All right, that's it. We're taking a break.
That's definitely heat stroke color pee right there, folks.
I can't even get my board to work because of you.
That's what she said.
And if you haven't had enough of our banter tonight, you want to visit NFL Addictions on Facebook.com for all of your NFL banter and chatter. It's not a trash talk site, so keep it clean and keep it cordial. That's NFL Addictions on Facebook.com. And if you still got an itch to scratch when you're done with that, you want to visit Raz Addictions on Facebook.com for their version of the raffle for all kinds of cool prizes, even a chance at winning some cash. You buy a $10 raffle ticket for a chance at winning $100. That's a chance at making 10 times your money. It don't get any better than that. That's Raz Addictions on Facebook.com for a chance at all kinds of cool prizes. Tell them what you've won, Dave.
I've won everything from tailgating barbecue sets. That I have a Packers one that I won, folks, for $400. I put $40 down on the spot. I won it, and it was out of 20 spots. It's really worth it. I've also won helmets that are signed. I've won banners that are signed. I've won memorabilia rings. I've won footballs that are signed and other Packers knickknacks because that's my team. But go ahead and check them out. Cheap, affordable prices for certified, authentic stuff.
That's Raz Addictions on Facebook.com. Go there, play, and win. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at First and Goal Pod, myself at UPJ33, Dave is at Steak and Cheese, and the fantasy wonder himself, Dillon, at DillonBusby1. Email us at firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com with all your football and Packer questions and comments, and you just might find yourself making the show live. That's firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com. And we are back, so these guys can quit arguing with me off air. Thank you. Now you have to be cordial. Shut the hell up and get on to the show.
How dare you?
Hiawatha.
You know, I use my powers for good and evil. That's why I'm a Gemini.
X on camera.
That's why I'm a Gemini. Tonight you're getting the more facetious side of me. That's playful and also dangerous.
That's what Keystone.
Yeah, for real. You dipped your face in like that Joker juice.
Don't make me do the laugh.
Fisher Club in the Police Academy movie.
All right, we are moving on. We are moving on because now is actually Dillon's time. It's time for Fantasy Files. Go ahead, Dillon.
Well, guys, let's review the Week 9 performances. Who really studded out, who dudded out. Start off with a guy I was playing against in one of my league, Russell Wilson. Threw for 5 touchdowns in that miraculous overtime game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Scored 39.2 fantasy points on average in the process. Also had Christian McCaffrey go off again. Whew, did you guys see that run up the middle when the seas parted through the Tennessee defense and they never had a chance? That was crazy.
A little bit.
Christian McCaffrey scoring 36.1 fantasy points across most formats. Tyler Lockett makes sense when Russell Wilson has such a huge day that his homeboy Tyler Lockett would get it done. Tyler Lockett scoring 33.7 fantasy points. We also have Mike Evans with a big day. Jimmy Garoppolo with his first big game of the season throwing 4 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson getting it done mostly on the ground. Some passes through the air as well. Kenyon Drake in that surprise debut for the Cardinals last week versus San Fran. Who saw that one coming? That was crazy. Matthew Stafford getting it done against Oakland. And how about Melvin Gordon finally getting into the end zone? As a matter of fact, twice in a great effort. Him and Austin Eckler are very startable in most formats. If you have both of them on your roster, you can start each of them confidently. Guys, what do we have next? Do you want to go into the trades or you want to go into the waiver wire, seeing that this is the last week for most people to be able to trade? I believe the deadlines are approaching in most leagues. Did you want to get into the trading situation?
Do we really want to even talk about trading? Because I don't want to hear about Dave and his fucking bitching.
Oh, we want to get into it.
If I will mute Dave if he makes one comment about his running back situation. I swear to God. Swear to God.
What if I say it's doing really well?
I will mute you. No running back talk from you because doing well is 1 week and you have shit running backs. Just stop it.
That's sexism, sir.
These names that I am throwing out to you folks as names you should either trade for or trade away are based on how they've performed thus far in the season, their rest of season schedule, and what their value is right now. For instance, the guys that I think you should trade for have a very, I believe, low value right now. You can buy low on them. You can trade them for pennies on the dollar, so to speak. The guys you should trade away are guys that just had big games or have recently had big games and that either have a tough road ahead or are going to split time, and it's just not going to be the same type of performance you can count on throughout your playoff push. So, guys, let's start with who I believe you should trade away at this point in the fantasy season. And let's talk about a guy we just mentioned, Mr. Melvin Gordon. Just had a 2-touchdown game, and yet Austin Eckler had double-digit carries himself. He's going to continue to be involved as long as the Chargers are in these type of high-scoring affairs and they need to throw the ball out there. What do you guys think? Would you be holding on to or trying to trade Melvin Gordon at this point? If you could package him.
My ass with Eckler. I don't think Gordon is that important.
Gordon just rocked 2 TDs, man, and had quite a game against the Packers. I mean, it's his 3rd game back. His first 2 weeks were preseason weeks. I think he might be worth it.
Okay, what if I told you these are his next few games? They are at the Oakland Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs, at the Denver Broncos, at the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Minnesota Vikings. And for your championship game, they are versus the Oakland Raiders, who have been much better against the run than pass this season.
Say that again.
I had a feeling. So the very next game is at Oakland. It's a night game. It's a primetime game. You got to believe they're going to be throwing the ball, being the visiting team. Oakland's going to try to grind the clock, and they do have weapons. So it might be more of an Eckler game. And then their next game is versus Kansas City on ESPN, and they're going to have Patrick Mahomes back. You got to believe that's going to be another high-scoring affair where Eckler is used more often than not. So what do you believe Gordon's value is going forward? Should you try to trade him, or do you think you can hold on to him through this gauntlet, seeing that they're clearly feeding him the ball? I mean, he did have 20 carries.
I mean, you look at what Detroit did. I mean, Detroit had a couple running backs, but no-namers. Paul Perkins and Ty Johnson do really good. So you got 2 backs, I believe, that can still do a bunch of damage there. I feel like Oakland's defense is you're going to get a ton of yards on them. You might not get some points, but I feel like you're still going to get a ton of yards.
So
I
it
really
sounds
do.
like you'd be wanting to hold on to Melvin right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially with being the fact of, like I said, his first 2 weeks off his holdout or his preseason. The Green Bay game was his third week. He came back into and just rolled the hell over us. Eckler was the secondary back in that game.
Jay?
Depends on what your needs are. And if you're running back heavy or you feel confident in your matchups and your running backs through that playoff stretch that you're going to get there, and you're needing a wide receiver, you got to trade him. And you got, like, this is the last week, so in my opinion, you have to look at your roster and do everything you can to make it the most balanced. And by doing that, that means you have to go get premier positions. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. And that's really all I'm trying to do. I know everybody thinks my trades that I send out there are crap, but really all I'm trying to do is open the door for people, and I really just want them just to get back, because I'm just telling them, like, I'm willing to trade because I know I need this and I have this. Some people would rather just bitch and complain and run to Twitter to make their point than actually engage in the banter and trying to help teams out. That's what I'm looking to do.
68% said it was a bad trade.
I could give a shit less what your trade thing was, because it's
how
not
about
about what my trade is. It's about what I'm trying to do, and you just don't want to engage in it. You just want to whine and complain about what's being sent. It's about if you don't like what's sent, I'm obviously telling you I'm looking for a wide receiver one. I feel I have a plethora of backs. Whether you agree or disagree that this back is going to help you or hurt you, I feel I can keep him. This is just a thing I'm looking at, and I feel like with this guy and this guy, that's fair value. If you don't agree with that, come back to me with something else. I told you last week, had he sent me the Fournette trade or whatever Dillon was thinking about for Michael Thomas, I would have absolutely considered that and more than likely come to the conclusion that that's a good trade for me to make, even though I like Fournette's matchup because of who Michael Thomas is. To me, that's what you need to do with Gordon. You're not going to be able to hold on to him and do it later because the trade deadline's coming. So if you're in a scenario like I am, get out there and try to make your team as balanced, because otherwise you're going to end up in situations like I am right now. That's how you get beat. You play the wrong guys when you're flexing guys that aren't dependent, and you get beat by points that are left on your bench because you're not confident in who you can or can't play in a certain spot. You need at least one premier position player at every position, and tight end's the anomaly because you only get to play one tight end in defense. That's, but when you're talking, so that's the way I look at it, Dillon.
So here's a few examples. Would you trade Melvin Gordon for Tevin Coleman?
Hell no.
Would you trade Melvin Gordon for Devonta Freeman?
I would not go back for back. If I'm trading Melvin Gordon, I'm looking to get a tight end, a receiver, something like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your idea of the value of Melvin Gordon.
If I'm looking at Melvin Gordon, I would say with his projection, you're going to look at guys on the low end like Courtland Sutton. You might be able to throw in maybe somebody else and pull an Amari Cooper who hasn't had a 40-point explosive, game more than once, and he's kind of with Dak. You're not sure, but he's a boomer bust guy, but he's pretty consistent with 15 points averaging. Guys like that right now, I think I would go to trade for. You're not going to get the Tyreek Hills or dudes like that. Those are guys like Chubb and. Because, basically like I did. I got Chubb and Samuel back for Tyreek Hill and some other players. So, bench guys. Those premier players you're going to have to premier. Like, to get a Michael Thomas, I'm going to have to get up a Leonard Fournette and probably a bench wide receiver to make you feel confident, because Michael Thomas is showing you he's probably going to boom 30, 40-point games a lot more than most running backs are. He just is showing that. So, those kind of guys, yeah, with the Melvin Gordon, you're probably not going to sniff anybody's interest, especially if they're like Dave.
And there you
Actually,
have it.
I just sent a trade to Ryan Mole.